Thank you for joining me on my masterclass. Now, today I'll be teaching you guys about the foundation for wealth, foundational wealth. How do people become wealthy? Because a lot of people misunderstand wealth, and when you misunderstand wealth, you're going to misapply wealth and you're never going to be wealthy. The thing about wealth is that wealth starts from your mentality. Wealth comes from your mentality. A poverty mentality will create poverty in your life, and an abundance mentality is going to create prosperity in your life. So, for you to get wealthy, you've got to understand that. And then, if you have a poverty mentality, you got to fix your mentality. That's how you're going to become wealthy. You have to understand wealth does not come from material things, wealth does not even come from money. You see, just like you have an atom as the very indivisible minimum of matter, you also have mentality, your thinking, as the barest minimum of wealth. So, what do I mean? Now, I'm going to put it this way: you don't even need money to become wealthy. You don't even need money to become wealthy. What you need to become wealthy are ideas. Because money follows ideas. Ideas does not follow money. Ideas do not follow money. Money follows ideas. And I'm going to prove it to you. If you ever saw the movie The Social Network, that's the biographical movie of how Facebook was founded, you understand something. In that movie, it was set partly in Harvard University. Mark Zuckerberg had an idea, but he was poor. He was an indigent student. And you had, on the other hand, you had some brothers, twin brothers, the Winklevoss brothers. They had money, but they didn't have ideas. Now, who pursued who? It was the Winklevoss brothers that went and pursued Mark Zuckerberg because they had money and he had an idea. So money pursued ideas. Money will always pursue ideas. If you, because maybe because I live in California, I see this a lot. If you have ideas in California and all over the world, but mostly in California, you have people who are called venture capitalists, and then they pursue you, they look for you to try to fund you. And in a sense, the Winklevoss brothers were venture capitalists, and Mark Zuckerberg was an ideator. He had ideas. So ideation, and what's an ideation? Ideation is just the process of coming up with ideas. Ideation is the what creates wealth. Ideation creates wealth. So you think, and then you become wealthy. And that's why it's so important to read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich. And another book also, read Norman Vincent Peale's book, The Power of Positive Thinking. Because at the very bottom, at the barest minimum, your mentality is what's going to make you wealthy. You have to be able to come up with ideas. You have to be able to come up with just, it doesn't even have to be wonderful big ideas. Some of the ideas that have made people wealthy are just very obvious, very simple ideas that people came up with. And one of the things you're going to find out is that in life, if you get on that rat race, if you start running the rat race, whereby you've got to go to school, you graduate, you get a job, and then you wake up in the morning, you go to work, and then you come back, you sleep, and you repeat the process, and you only have weekends, and sometimes you have to work on weekends, you're never going to have time to come up with ideas. And that's the whole point of the rat race, to keep you busy until you die. So you just become a worker. What you have to do is to think, find time to think, find time to think, and then that process of ideation is going to bring you money making ideas. And then when you have these money making ideas, you're going to find out that money, capital, starts to chase you, starts to look for you. And it's a proven technique. Not once, not twice. I mean, this is how it has been. It's a proven technique. If you look at scripture, you also see it in scripture. You see it in scripture with Joseph. Joseph had ideas. He had ideas, but then he didn't have money. Eventually, he had to go to prison because of the false accusation by Potiphar's wife. And he got out of prison, and then he was in front of Pharaoh. What did he give Pharaoh? He gave Pharaoh ideas. He said, okay, this is how you are going to prepare for the famine that's going to come in Egypt. You're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do that, you're going to have to do this. And what did Pharaoh do? Pharaoh gave him money and authority because he had ideas. If you have ideas, you're going to prosper anywhere you are. You're going to prosper. If you have an idea if you have ideas in the office, if you have ideas at home, eventually you're going to prosper because people who have money are going to come to meet you. Because human beings, the process of society, civilization, it is driven further by people who have ideas. So capitalists are wealthy not because of money. They are wealthy because they use their money to fund people with ideas. They use their money to fund people with ideas, and it is by funding people with ideas that they become wealthy. So, what you have to do if you want to become wealthy is this: find time for ideation. Find time for ideation. And one of the best times that you can have for ideation is to wake up early in the morning, really early, maybe about 5 o'clock, 5:30, no later than 5:30, when the world is quiet, when people aren't talking, when there's no noise of traffic, the television is not on, social media alerts are not coming in, and then you begin to think. That thinking process, like I'll show you here. Over here, for instance, I was going to show you. I have my, it's just like something that shuts down all my alerts. Because, like, if you see this video right now, you see, I mean, I'm at home, but my kids are not here. My wife is sleeping, everybody's sleeping, but it's very early. And then I woke up, I was ideating, okay, what am I going to give my subscribers today? And then ideas on how to make money came into my mind. I didn't plan this, it was just by ideating that, all of this deep thought came into my mind, and then I'm able to pass it on to you. That's what ideating does. But if you are distracted, you cannot ideate. So you want to make sure that you're ideating in the early hours of the morning or very late at night. But then, late at night is not, I mean, it's better than nothing. But then at that point in time, you are over, probably you're tired from activities in the day, and then it might affect your ideation. So you want to go to bed, you want to wake up early, and then you're fresh, your mind is at rest, and then you just wake up and then you begin to ideate. And one of the things I'm going to tell you when you're ideating is this: don't trust your memory. Do not trust your memory. What you want to do is this: you want to have a piece of paper and you want to have a pencil, because a short pencil is longer than a long memory. If you're ideating, God is going to feed you ideas into your mind. But then, if you don't write them down, you're going to forget them. And then when you forget them, probably somebody close to you is going to have an idea, and then you're going to accuse him of stealing your idea. No, they didn't steal your idea. You didn't write it down. God hates wasting ideas, and he gives it to another person. As long as you have ideas, I'm telling you, it's not going to be long before you become wealthy. If you go back and think about any corporation, let's take Apple for instance. Apple, if you ever watched biographical movies about Apple, almost the same thing that happened with Mark Zuckerberg and the founder of Facebook also happened with Apple and with Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. These guys, they didn't have any money. They were broke guys. They came from, would I say, just approaching middle class parents. They weren't actually middle class parents, approaching middle class parents. As a matter of fact, Steve Jobs was adopted, but his parents were almost middle class. Steve Wozniak, his parents were nowhere near middle class, but they had an idea. And then they got together, they kept on, like working on the idea, and then eventually money came. Money came to them. If you also look at Uber, if you look at Uber, if you watch the biographical series, I think it's on Netflix, or you can also get it on Hulu. I think it's called Super Pumped. And then if you see about the guy Kalashnik, if you see what led to Uber, I mean, he had the idea, but then venture capitalists came, and then they gave him money, and they brought other venture capitalists, and then they gave him money, and that's how Uber became big. And when Uber became so big, and then they found out that maybe, well, some people had this accusation that he had a toxic personality on the business, they kicked him out. But then he had become a billionaire. The venture capitalists had also made billions, and then it was from that idea. So I'm not saying that, especially if you're living in the third world, you're going to get some kind of like $1 billion venture capitalist. But start where you are. Start where you are, and then you're going to grow, and then money is going to come. I mean, I'll give you another example. If in Nigeria you have some guys called Flutterwave. Flutterwave was born by an idea. And then they were in Nigeria. They weren't in Silicon Valley, but even in Nigeria, the guys that were the founders of Flutterwave, Iyi, Aboyeji, and some other guys, I mean, they are now so big. They're billionaires. They're known all over the world. I mean, they are being fitted and wined and dined by kings and by powerful people. But they all started with an idea. So if I'm going to tell you, if you have challenges coming up with ideas or ideating, what you want to do is you want to read the book, Think and Grow Rich. And you also want to read the book, The Power of Positive Thinking. Think and Grow Rich is going to help you understand that you need to come up with ideas, because ideas are the building blocks of wealth. And then the power of positive thinking is going to teach you how you can always be positive. And because you're likely to get ideas when you're positive than when you're negative. Because you got to understand is that it takes the same energy to think big as it does to think small. Now, if you've watched this, you got questions arising from this, put your questions in the comment section of this video. My staff are going to bring them to me, and I'm going to do my best to respond to each and every category. But you got to remember, I do not have a WhatsApp quota, Telegram channel, or Gmail email address. So you got to beware of scammers and spammers. I'm never going to ask you for money, and I'm never going to invest your money for you. This is Ronald Mokri, the pastor, and the apostle of prosperity, saying, God bless.
But Reno travels all around the world. I hope you get inspired about what you see. Apostle of greatness, Reno is a master. Only one man against the whole world in large. Fighting with the monsters, poverty I can't stand. That's why Reno is